Hey there, awesomes. Welcome back to Self-Worth School, the podcast that is all about giving you lessons on becoming your happiest, most confident self. I'm Rosie. If you're new here, I'm a self-worth and success coach, and I'm help purpose-led women to stop circling their potential and trust themselves to build the life, the businesses, the work, and impact that they're really capable of. Now, we're in the middle of a heat wave in the UK at the moment. So if you are watching this on YouTube, apologies for the kind of frizball hair. There's a fan here in the background. Hopefully, that's not being picked up by any noise. But today's episode is for the woman who already knows what it is that she needs to do, but just can't seem to get herself to do it. You've got the idea, you've got the next step, you know, the conversation you want to have, the application you want to make, the launch that you want to do in your business, the post that you want to write, the decision you want to make. You know that it's important. You know that it could change things, and yet somehow another week or another 6 months goes by and it's still not done. And if that's you, I want you to know you're probably not procrastinating because you're lazy. You're procrastinating because something much deeper is going on. And today we're going to unpack why capable, ambitious, hardworking women procrastinate on the things that matter most, what your brain is actually doing when that happens, and most importantly, how to finally get out of your own way. So let's get into it. So today we're talking about something, like I said, that comes up all the time with my clients, all the time. And actually, in a lot of the conversations that I have with fellow female entrepreneurs, even ones that are running six-figure businesses and seven-figure, even, I had a conversation with someone just last week, and that is procrastination. And before you switch off, because you've already heard every productivity hack that there is under the sun, let me tell you what this episode isn't about. I'm not going to tell you to wake up at 5 a.m., join the 5 a.m. club and get it all done. I'm not going to tell you to color code your calendar or use that Pomodoro technique. And I'm definitely not going to tell you that you just need more discipline, because most of the women that I work with, they're not lazy. Lack of discipline isn't a problem because they have discipline in a lot of other areas of their life. And maybe you're the same. The women that I work with, they're ambitious, they are capable, they are purpose led. They're not afraid of hard work, and they know exactly what it is that they need to do, even if they think that they don't. But a lot of the time, they have a task, they know that there's something that they need to do. And that's what makes procrastination so frustrating, because the question isn't, what should I do? What do I need to do next? The question is, why am I not doing the thing that I already know I need to do? And that's what we're going to unpack today. And I want you to think about the thing that you've been putting off. If you don't have anything specific in business or in your career, then maybe something in your life. But I'm almost 100% certain that pretty much every single one of us has something that we're supposed to do that we're putting off. But for a second, let's put those things aside. Not the washing, not the tax return, not the admin, not the life admin, because isn't the kind of thing we're talking about today. We're talking about the thing that could actually move your life, your business, your career forward, whether that's the post, the application that you want to make, the pitch you want to send, the launch, the boundary that you want to set, the conversation that you want to have, the decision that you want to make, the thing that you've been thinking about for weeks, maybe even months, and you know that it matters. You know that it's important. You know that it would move things forward. And yet, here we are, still thinking about it, still planning it, still researching it, still waiting. And I think there's an important distinction to make here, because there are two types of procrastination, or at least I think there are from what I've seen. And me and Leah Turner, in the recent episode that we did about thriving in life and business with ADHD, we touched on, I think, more of the former. There's type one, which is avoidance procrastination. So this is like the boring stuff, like the life admin, the inbox, the filing, the tax return, unless that's your jam, obviously, but simply the tasks that you don't enjoy. Most productivity advice is aimed at this type of stuff, like where it's just boring for you to sit down and do it. And this productivity hack is going to help you move through these boring things so that the things that you need to do, you can do them, get them done in a way that feels less painful. But this isn't the type of procrastination that keeps most of my clients stuck. The kind of type two of procrastination is expansion procrastination, or is it, at least that's the name that I'm giving it. And this is the interesting one, because this is when you're delaying something that could genuinely change your life or your business, even if it was just a small shift, but you know that this is the thing that you could or should be focusing on. This could be like, a pivotal thing, a catalyst that leads to something else. And you're not avoiding it because it's boring. You're avoiding it because it matters. And that changes everything. Because now we're not talking about time management, we're talking about identity. And the real question that we want to be asking is like, why do women procrastinate on the things like they actually want most? Because you would normally associate, procrastinating, delaying on something that you either can't be arsed with, or like I said, something that's boring. But these are the things that really matter. When I was on a retreat last week, I was speaking to one of the women there, and she's got an incredible business, like I said, that's running 7 figures, and she has the opportunity to, through kind of the work that she does, secure contracts that could see her business go into multi millions. And all she needs to do is create this brochure. And she's stuck there because of this fear. And even though she knows she wants that, like I said, just like other women, she's procrastinating on the thing that she wants most. Think about it. Like, nobody spends 6 months procrastinating over a Tesco meal deal, or, nobody spends weeks agonizing what socks to buy unless you're a bit of a sock weirdo. Like, the things that we procrastinate on are usually the things that carry weight. The book that we want to write, our business, a career move we want to make, the offer that we're looking at building, the relationship, in our life, the conversation that we just really need to have with a friend or family member, like the thing that could actually change everything or something. And that's why they're so charged. And this is where I think procrastination becomes a self-worth issue, because often it isn't the task itself that you're avoiding. Like, yeah, sometimes they're like meaty tasks. And I know there are things that I procrastinate on because I know it's going to take a lot of work. I know I really need to get my head in the game in order to do it. And it's going to be complicated. But I think also part of the reason that I procrastinate is because of the level of perfectionism and, that I would want it to reach. And so, you're like, oh, but I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do it well enough. And so you keep just putting it off. So yeah, often it isn't necessarily the task that you're avoiding, it's what the task means. Because if, are procrastinating on a launch or whatever, and you're thinking, if I launch and nobody buys, well, what does that say about me? If I apply for this job and I don't get it, what does that say about me? If I have this conversation and how somebody feels about me changes, what does that mean about me? If I raise my prices, what if nobody thinks that I'm worth it? If I put myself out there, what if people judge me? If I succeed, there's actually, because some people, they're not fearing failure. They're feeling, well, if it works, can I actually handle that level? Can I be that visible? And would I be able to sustain it if we continued? If it actually worked, then the pressure's going to be on me to make it work again. And often the bigger the opportunity, the more it challenges the version of yourself that you've been living as. And that's why women often procrastinate on the very things that would move them closer to the life that they want, because growth requires a different identity. It often requires you doing something that you haven't done before, or being able to hold something you haven't done before. And, that scares a lot of us. And if we bring kind of the neuroscience angle in, because I always like to look at it from, different angles, because it helps me make sense of things. There's also another reason why this happens, and it's called the present bias. And yeah, it's one of the most like fascinating things in behavioral psychology. Your brain will naturally prioritize comfort over future reward, even if there's the chance that that reward could be massive. your brain is always going to go for what feels comfortable in the present. So let's say posting online feels uncomfortable, but scrolling Instagram feels comfortable. One creates short-term discomfort and one creates short-term relief because you get that dopamine of, getting in your scroll hole. Your brain is going to choose relief. As an automatic reaction, it's going to choose relief. And it's not because you're weak and it's not because you're lazy. It's because your brain is efficient, or at least it thinks it is. It thinks it's doing the thing that's going to give you like a better reward or relief in the moment rather than making you uncomfortable because it sees that as a threat. It says, oh, we don't want to do something that feels uncomfortable. So I'll give you the means and the kind of excitement and draw to do something else instead. And the problem is that your life wants, the life that you want lives in future rewards, not the immediate, it lives past that short-term comfort, not immediate comfort. It's not going to feel comfort immediately because, like say, often you haven't done it before or it's associated with fears and thoughts that make you think maybe you can't do it. But when you push past that kind of short-term comfort, that's where the real rewards lie, not in the kind of scrolling Instagram for that, dopamine hit. And that's why procrastination feels good today, sometimes, when you are in your scroll hole or you convince yourself that actually, well, I've ticked 5 things off my to-do list today instead of this one, but actually that was the one that would have, done something. So your brain's trying to make you feel like you're being productive. But, that procrastination only feels good today. In 6 months' time, that's regret, frustration, that's negative self-talk saying, why we'll see it clearly. I don't have it in me to do this because look, I've been sitting on this for 6 months. And that's not the case. It's not that you don't have it in you. It's just you're not supported in the right way to push past this procrastination. And one of the biggest myths that I see women believing is that, I'll do that when I'm ready and I'll do it when I feel more confident or I've got more experience, or I'll do it when, yeah, like I know more, or I'll do it when I feel more motivated and I'm in the right headspace. But as I've said a million times, and you've probably read a million times online, like confidence doesn't create action. Action is the thing that creates confidence. That's what creates self-trust. Successful people are not necessarily more motivated than you or the average person. They've just learned not to wait for motivation, not to wait until everything is 100% perfect. They move before they feel ready because they see the thing that they know they need to do and they think, even if I'm not ready, this is the thing. This is the thing that's gonna move things. They act before they feel confident. They build evidence through the action that they take, and that's where confidence comes from. Because they're able to say, well, look what I've done, even if it was uncomfortable. Look what I've done, and I pushed through and I did this thing and I got the result, hopefully, that I wanted. Or if I didn't, I, took the learning from it and did something else. And I do want to acknowledge something important at this point because, as I've, probably mentioned before, I'd say like 60 to 70% of my clients now are, some have some kind of form of neurodiversity, whether that's an official diagnosis or a suspected one. And for some women, particularly those with ADHD or other forms of neurodiversity, procrastination can involve like genuine challenges around like starting tasks and finishing them and seeing them through, and like prioritization and just like executive functioning in general. But again, and so many of my clients are constantly saying, I'm just so bad at, kind of prioritizing and organizing. And yeah, absolutely, there is the neurodiverse angle in there that is part of what's causing the problem. But, that isn't laziness and it's not a character flaw. It's just different wiring. And if that's, if you feel like that's something that affects you, like, please don't use this episode as another like stick to beat yourself with about, or another like problem to pile on top of other problems, that you have. The answer isn't shame. It's understanding how your brain works and building systems that support it rather than trying to get things done, in the same way that a neurotypical person would. But even then, even with diverse people, especially if they are aware of how differently their brain works and they do kind of give themselves a bit of a break on that and they realize that their neurodiversity is affecting how well they're able to kind of prioritize and see tasks through, sometimes they think it's that. But when we dig a little bit deeper, actually that same or those same self-worth themes are underneath. So yes, it's a bit of a double whammy, for some of them sometimes because they've got the kind of neurodiverse angle, but actually sometimes it's also fear of getting it wrong, fear of not being good enough, fear of being judged, wrapped up in, I'm not able to see things through, I'm not able to be consistent. And I want to leave you actually with something different and another angle as well, because what if the thing that you're procrastinating on, the thing that you're procrastinating on building, doing, whatever it is also the thing that you're being called towards, from like a soul or spiritual perspective, because I really truly believe that we are drawn to things that are related to our soul purpose. And when I look at the things that women avoid, they're very rarely, just kind of random things. It's usually the things or the thing that matters most, the thing that's asking them to grow, the thing that's asking them to step into like more of their purpose, more of like self-actualization. Maybe the thing that's asking them to become somebody a bit new, the thing that's asking them to stop circling their potential and actually step into what they were here to do. And maybe that discomfort isn't a stop sign. Maybe it is evidence that you're expanding. You are expanding into somebody new. You are starting to explore your soul purpose. And anything that's new is going to feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. So we're coming to a practical exercise that I want to give you to do to put this into action. I want you to answer these 3 questions to yourself. What have I been putting off for at least 3 months, or at least a month if you're a short-term procrastinator? What is it that you've been putting off? What would change or potentially change if you actually did it? And finally, is it really the task that I'm avoiding, like the actual, logistics of doing it? Or is it the person that I'd have to become in order to do it? And I just want you to sit with that one, because actually it might tell you everything that you need to know. So the main takeaway, that if you take anything away from this episode about procrastination, I want you to realize that most women aren't procrastinating because they're lazy or not disciplined. They're procrastinating because they're delaying an expansion. The thing that you're avoiding usually isn't the problem. It's the meaning that you've attached to it, the meaning that you've given to, if it's not good enough, the fear, the identity shift, the possibility. And what I know is the life that you want isn't on the other side of more thinking, more prepping, more planning, more research. It's on the other side of movement, not like perfect or fearless movement when you're 100% ready and you know exactly where you're going, just movement. So whatever it is that you're procrastinating about, ask yourself those 3 questions and then go do the thing. And if you want to, I would love to know if this resonated and it makes you do the thing. Tell me, send me a DM, let me know, tag me, and let me know the thing that you're going to do. So I hope that you've enjoyed, today's episode. I hope that it's given you maybe a different perspective on procrastination and why you might, be stuck, what it represents, that bigger version of you, that bigger life, whether that's more visibility, more responsibility, more success, more possibility. And, those things can feel uncomfortable. But remember, the women that I work with, they're not short of ideas. They're not short of ambition. They're not even short of strategy. They're just simply tired of something standing between themselves and the life that they know they're capable of creating. And if this resonated with you today, I've got something that hopefully will really help. So I'm going to link in the show notes for free my overthinking reset. It's part of my self-worth reset series that I usually give to my clients and my membership. But it's designed to help you kind of quiet that mental noise, make decisions, and start moving again. So you'll find the link in the show notes. Go have it for free. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you are done second guessing yourself, you're done putting things off and circling your potential, I would love to support you so that you can reach that potential, do the things that you're here to do. Whether that's inside the cult, the confidence cult, which is my coaching membership for purpose-led women, or through one-to-one coaching, this is the exact work we do together. I can help you understand that exact block so that you can shift it. Because my job is not to give you another strategy. You already know enough. It's to help you become the version of yourself who actually trusts herself to follow through. So if you did enjoy today's episode, I would be so grateful if you could leave a review, especially on Apple Podcasts, because I know quite a few of you listen there, or share it with somebody who needs it, or pop it on your stories and give it a tag so I can say thank you. But until next time, like I say, go do the thing, go be awesome, and have a great day.